0, 1.
Let's get started.
Everyone thinks the market has already chose direction, but price structure is quietly building pressure inside this key range. Now, if this level breaks, traders could get caught completely offside. So let's talk about how we can day trade the S&P 500 for tomorrow's session. As you can see right off the bat, what we have here is a series of ranges. It appears to be that this is a range here. There is a range here, oddly enough, and then there's also this other range that just formed towards the end of the session. Now, already starting off by giving you all some knowledge, just be aware that you want to use the most recent range as your anchoring pivot. So yes, all the other ranges are important, but for right now, the most important range is the most recent range, okay? Now, with that being said, just take a look at this range. As you can see, it is bullish going into this range, all right? So with that being said, we are technically looking for buying opportunities, at least for right now. And with that being said, we can look at this in terms of this being support just down below. So this is going to be the kind of the anchor point for us. And let's get rid of this really quickly for now. And let's clone this one and put this to the upside. Now, with all this being said, we now have support underneath and pretty obvious levels of resistance ahead of us. Now, it won't be until we break above those deviations by a lot do we really need to be aware of anything other than buying opportunities or selling opportunities off the high. So the very first variation that I'd love to see for tomorrow is the fact that we push down into this supportive structure and then ultimately look for a mini variation in which we can now look for buying opportunities to rotate back to the upside. Now, depending on how far we go is going to be the justification for that last runner. So let's just say in this situation, the full distance underneath that range low is going to be what we're expected to look for the upside. So something like this, or essentially retesting these prior highs from the intraday session today at roughly, let's just say 693 3/4. Okay. So this could be the first variation for me personally. Now, the second variation we do need to be aware of is the fact that this is obviously a really, really big move to the downside. No doubt about that at all. Now, typically what will happen with these bigger moves is that you'll see some sort of pullback here and then a retest of the low. So let's just be aware of the fact that if we do pull all the way back down to this prior low, let's just say what is this? Sorry about that. Let me get rid of this. Let's just say it's at 689, okay? If we pull all the way back to this low, and we're going to look for a lot of support actually. And in that support, we need a twin variation to cut through that momentum. And ultimately, we can find a rotation now going back to the upside still. Now, in this particular situation, yes, there's a range defined, but because we're looking at it now in a different mindset, just be aware that the prior high is right here at 694. And that's going to be the target for this green case scenario that I'll change to, let's say, a deeper green, okay? So these are the two most preferred variations for me personally in tomorrow's session. Now let's talk about some other random situations that could also occur. Because this overall range is bearish.
Before we continue our market endeavors, a brief word. Should you desire daily watch lists, private live streams, and premium guidance, you'll find Mr. Green and Red's illustrious Patreon and Discord linked below. And do note, the lowest tier currently includes a complimentary 7-day trial. A most generous offer, if I may say so. Testimonials from fellow traders speak for themselves. Do remember, our host is most certainly not a financial advisor. He just sounds like one. Now then, back to the charts.
Because this overall range is bearish, okay, and we're looking to buy support at this low, we could ultimately reject and fall through this low. Now, if that's the case, then we can start to look at this in terms of being a bit more bearish. So let's just say it pulls down, pulls back, and just shoots lower, okay? Now we have a breakout of this bearish range, which means that we should be looking for pullbacks here to ultimately sell and look for a new lower low to be printed, all right? So this is the best possible way you can sell the market if we do go lower, given the structure, like I said, at hand. Each pivot right now is almost a buying opportunity, so you don't really want to sell into this zone above us. You're more than likely going to be looking for a breakout and then a continuation pattern. So if we do go higher, however, let's just go higher, we won't be out of the range just yet, right? We should be expecting some sort of GNR pattern because this will technically go against the range momentum. And then we can now look to sell to go back down to the lows. All right, I'm going to change this to a different color just so everything doesn't get too muddled here. But again, just be aware that that's going to be how you're selling the market at this particular high because we are in a range. Now, from this perspective, we should look for those first two variations that we mentioned earlier on, in which we're looking to buy off this low or look for a complete breakdown and start to sell this market as it continues to fall lower and lower. And again, preferring the fact that the buying opportunity has the highest percentage chance of working. Now, if we don't roll over by going directly higher, chances are we will break out. And it's very similar to all the other things we talked about. And just be aware that there are several different variations, not just the standard ones that I give you, but this is the best way for like beginners to understand the concepts. All right. Now, with that being said, if we do break out on strength, it should be pretty obvious when it does. And then now we just need to be patient, look for a dip buy as the market wants to go back up and retest this prior high here. Okay. Now, another way to measure that for the last runner that you have maybe is going to be the fact that this whole breakout leg should be expected to be very close to the secondary leg. So don't be too surprised in best case scenario that we wind up all the way at 700 in tomorrow's session. But again, at least as far as going directly higher, there's realistically only two ways that I'm looking at. I'm either looking to sell the market once we get to the high, which is a bit more appropriate, or we can look for a breakout and then a pullback, which is also appropriate, but maybe just slightly less likely, okay? Let me know down below in the comments where you think the market's going to be heading next. Bullish or bearish? I want to hear your take. Also, if you're not already there, I go live every Monday and Friday, completely free, breaking down the market in real time. And make sure you subscribe and catch me in the next video so you don't miss another great trading opportunity just like this. Could be wrong, I could be right, obviously, but in general, so low, 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 we go back up, 2 try, back down.